Computer. All right, hello and welcome to the first of our Power Up the Semester series. This is a three-part series helping you feel powerful, get ready, and start your semester off strong. You can always return to these series. We'll have a video for each one posted on our YouTube channel, so that way you can refresh, revisit, and get back on track anytime you need to power up your game. I'm Coach Haley, and I work in the Student Success Resource Center for the College of Humanities and Social Sciences here at the University of Northern Colorado. I'm really glad that you're tuning in and can join us for time planning and goal setting. Now, today in our workshop and presentation, we are going to focus on three aspects when it comes to powerful planning and goal setting. That first one is going to be different planning tools and strategies. So I'm going to walk you through traditional planners and how you might benefit from that. We're going to talk about bullet journals, which certainly have a lot of benefits and some cons depending on your style. So it's important to get the one that's going to work for you. And then lastly, we'll just talk about some digital apps, but there are endless sort of to-do, scheduling, calendar kind of apps out there. The big thing is that you find the one that works for you. Then we're going to talk about the process for powerful planning and kind of planning your time effectively, including what are time-specific events and what you can use your flex time, your flexible hours on your calendar for. And then we'll wrap up the presentation with kind of the process for goal setting. And we're going to talk about riders, elephants, and paths. So I'm very excited. Let's get started on powering up our planning. So when it comes to, planning tools, and the important thing is finding what fits you. There's not necessarily a right or a wrong tool or strategy out there. The right tool is going to be the one that you can use consistently and that helps you meet your goals on time, feel less stressed. The wrong tools and the wrong strategies are the ones that you can't keep up with. If you find yourself dreading filling out your planner, you end up skipping it a lot of days. You find yourself not wanting to be on the phone so much. All of those aspects are going to be indications you're using the wrong strategy. And what is right for one person could be wrong for another person and vice versa. So I want to make sure that you find the one that's going to fit you. And so the three kind of big umbrella ones that we typically see that tend to work, again, well for some people, others use a combination, are going to be our traditional planners, our bullet journals, and then our digital kind of apps. And so when it comes to those traditional planners, what I'm really referring to are, those pre-printed sort of bound planners. You can find them at, various stores. In the past, have gotten a lot of mine at Target, but now there are a lot of specialty brands coming out, things like Passion Planner, which I actually have, and I'll show you my Passion Planner in a moment. Panda Planner is another one that I've seen kind of students see and shows up on my Instagram a lot. And then, yeah, you can find kind of more simplified ones as well at kind of any of your local stores. And traditional planners, I find really, really useful to do your micro planning. And so that's going to be your daily and your weekly planning, mainly because it can be really tedious, right? To fill out sort of all the lines for the different hours or days in a week, making sure they're dated correctly, and kind of creating all those little specific kind of to-dos and spaces. And so that's where the traditional planners, again, these are going to be those pre-printed ones that will probably, you can get them on the academic year. So you can definitely find some that start in August. So that way your whole planner goes August through the end of the year. But you can also find ones that are calendar year. So they'll start, January and go through January. As a student, you might find the academic printed planners a little bit more useful. So that way, your entire year, your fall semester, spring semester can stay in one book. Otherwise, you will have to switch, right, halfway through the year, halfway through the school year when the year turns over. So that's kind of what a traditional planner looks like. Now, like I mentioned, I actually been using Passion Planner for the past year. This was my first one, and it was a calendar year, so it just ran 2020. This is their kind of small, and there are some things I did enjoy about this kind of specialty printed planner. But the big picture, right, you can see there are the sort of weeks printed, and then I was just able to, fill it out. So I have Sunday, through Saturday. It has half-hour increments printed for me. And then there's spaces for things like my work to-do list, personal to-do list, kind of notebook space. And so any of these specialty printed planners probably are going to give you those little extra things. The Panda planner that I saw had kind of spaces for like positive affirmations every day, places to reflect, habit trackers. And there are a million different brands out there. The specialty planners tend to be a little bit more expensive. But if you're someone who maybe wants to get into the habit of reflecting more, or you find yourself kind of benefiting and being able to follow along with a lot more structure, then a specialty printed planner might be for you. This year, I did continue. I liked this brand. It just helped me. It kind of worked for me. So for 2021, I upgraded though to a bigger size. So that's the other thing with these traditional kind of printed planners. Often you can get them in different sizes. And so for, maybe you're going back and forth to classes, a small one might be good to fit in your backpack, a little easier. But I found myself having to write really tiny, and I didn't like that so much. So I did upgrade to a slightly bigger size, can still fit in my, work bag, could still definitely fit in your backpack, but it just gives me a little bit more kind of space and room to write. And so again, the nice thing and why I say traditional planners are really great for micro planning is because you can imagine how long it would take to really be able to fill it. Okay, every single month I got to fill it every single weekday, make sure it's dated correctly. And then if you like planning hour by hour and kind of going through your day that way, you'll have to take that into account as well. But you can definitely find printed planners that are a lot more simplified. And then usually the cheapest version of a traditional planner is just going to be kind of the calendar view, maybe a simple week view. Some of them you do just date in yourself. So traditional planners definitely can be great. If you love pen, paper, consider a traditional planner, especially to help you get your daily and weekly time kind of management and planning in. Now, the next type that you might see that's definitely grown in popularity is what we call the bullet journals. And this method was really first created by this architect, and was really about kind of tracking productivity, and creating a very custom experience. And so you can definitely research and follow the true kind of bullet journal style. There's symbols that they use, and a specific kind of method. However, I have found the more customized version of bullet journaling works best for me, and definitely is something I would recommend you look into so you can get the experience in the tool that you actually need. So bullet journals are blank notebooks. Usually they're going to have little grid lines or dots so you can sort of write straight and draw straight lines on it. But the beautiful thing about a bullet journal is you get to make it work for you. Now, the sort of downside of the bullet journal is you are going to have to fill it out. You're going to have to create what your journal looks like. But you can make it as big picture or as specific as you really want it to be. So for example, I have two bullet journals, one for work, and then one for kind of my more personal life and work. And I use them a little bit differently for each. So kind of the foundation is the same. So when you first, open your bullet journal, right, it'll look something like this, just a blank notebook filled with possibilities. So if you find yourself wanting to do maybe big picture planning or reflection in a bullet journal, you might consider, creating sort of a weekly or a monthly spread. So you can see every month, like this was July, and then August, and I just go through and do it every month. And then I found for me, my bullet journal because I didn't want to spend so much time creating actual weekly spreads. Though if you are a creative, kind of artistic doodly person, you find creating your spreads to be a great tool for expression, creativity, and maybe your self-care, then definitely, YouTube, there's a million different people out there documenting their bullet journal spreads and providing some inspiration. For me, though, I am not kind of that type of person. So I keep mine really simple. Every month, I keep track of the important dates I need to kind of keep in mind. So I did create like a little monthly calendar. And then I just track the projects, right? So for my work journal, really thinking about, okay, what important projects are coming up at work this month. For you with your classes, right? That's where you can put, okay, what, papers are due this month, what exams are coming up this month, what kind of milestones for the projects do I need to hit this month? Do I need to meet with my advisor? What are the deadlines happening? All of those things you could document in your bullet journal pretty quickly. And then I also have, a place to track what I call brain dumps. And so I love bullet journals because it's just a great place for me to put those ideas down that I don't want to forget. So that's my kind of work one. I do a similar thing with my personal bullet journal. Again, I keep it really, really simple. And so what I like to do, we'll go to this January, since we just started a new year. And so same, I have my month in there, and then every month in my bullet journal, I create a goal using the method that we're going to go over at the end of this workshop. And then I have a place for like my creative growth, right? Habits I want to form. And then again, I have a place for my brain dumps. So every month I kind of push myself to think of an idea and write that down. And then I have things like a little to-do list and stuff to do on the weekends. And so that works really well for my life. The big picture with bullet journals is create a spread that's going to work for your life and make sure it is meaningful and impactful for you. Now, for big picture, bullet journal planning like I use, the main benefit and reason I like it is because then I can go back and see kind of how my semester or my year went. And so I started doing this in 2020. And so it's been really, really fun to be able to kind of switch back through, every single month and see what projects I had going, what I accomplished, how I spent my time, what I learned and experienced. And it kind of just creates a really nice sort of look back. While you're in school, that might not be as important. But if you get in the habit of documenting every month what you have accomplished and been doing, it could be helpful when it comes time to write things like your cover letter and make sure your resume is up to date because you actually have it documented, the exact dates when you volunteered or you completed this project. And you did some of those things that, certainly could be helpful in the job search. And then the last thing, kind of on that note with bullet journals that can be kind of fun, is actually creating a little yearly summary, right? And so you can see I'm going to have my like year in review kind of going on. And then every month I will fill it out. And at the end of the year, it will look something like, like this, right? So it's all filled out and gives me a really, really quick glance. So that's bullet journals. The big takeaway is they are great because you can make it exactly what you need, what you want, whether you're doing a big kind of monthly look ahead and review, or you actually turn it into kind of a more traditional planner by filling out each of your weekly spreads, which definitely can be a very fun and sort of self-soothing thing for you to try out. So think about bullet journals, but just know you will need to, make sure you're ready and can commit to designing that spread every month. Whereas the traditional planner, it's set up, you just grab it, go, and kind of go for it. Now, the last thing, if you're not so much into carrying around, a traditional planner, a bullet journal, you really prefer to have it on your phone, you can definitely look for some of these digital to-do apps. And so if you have a Gmail account, the Google Calendar app can be really great and useful. You're able to block out your time, put in, the events. It can set reminders for you, which is certainly something that these paper planners and tools can't do. You're going to have to take that extra step to set up a reminder. So I really love using kind of calendar. If you're part of, the Microsoft suite, which UNC, right, your Bear Mail is part of that Office 365. You could get Microsoft's To-Do app as well as the calendar and use it in the same way. Put in the events, the deadlines, the due dates you have, and then set reminders, a week in advance. Hey, you have an exam next week, by the way. This deadline is next week. Have you, emailed your advisor to get your PIN for registration? All of those are really, really great ways to use a digital app like Calendar, so you get those reminders right away. The other thing you could do certainly is just grab one of the productivity apps. Things like Todoist in my homework, I've tested out. They were solid, and I was able to sort of put in all of the things from the syllabus ahead of time, all the due dates, and then as they come up, the app shows it to me, and you can definitely keep track of a lot of tasks and projects that way. And just make sure if you're going to be using a digital one, set aside some time every week. So that way you get sort of the stuff you need for the next week in there, planned out, update your calendar pretty frequently. And then it's on there on your phone. And so with all of these, it doesn't have to be one or the other. I actually use all three of these tools because I use them for kind of different things, right? My traditional planner, my daily and weekly, right? So every Sunday I sit down, look ahead to the week, and I put it in my traditional pre-printed planner. And then my bullet journal every month, and then sort of every weekend, I sit down, make my new spread, write down my projects, all the things that I did on a monthly basis. And then I do use the To-Do app from Microsoft, as well as my Google Calendar and my Outlook calendar for, work and then sort of personal things. And I do that in combination. And so I can kind of plan out, block my time on my calendar to make sure I have enough time to work on projects in between meetings. So I use all three. You might use any combination, and definitely give it a test out to see which one is going to work, or combination will work best for you. And just remember, like, the most important takeaway, the right tool is the one that you use consistently. All right. If it is something that you feel good, you feel powerful, and you're able to do on a consistent basis, so it's up to date, it's actually something that is working for you, then it's going to be the right strategy and the right tool. If you find yourself not updating it, not looking at it, not really using it, then that could be a sign you haven't quite found the right tool. And it could just be switching brands. If it's a pre-printed planner, it could be changing the way you do your layouts if it's a bullet journal, or it could be finding a whole new app or any kind of combination. And so change is okay. If you find yourself not consistently using it and it's not helping you plan your time, try something else until you find the thing that you can use consistently and does help you. All right, so now that we have kind of the tools set and which tools you might want to use this semester, let's get into the actual planning process. And there's 3 stages you need to remember when it comes to kind of more powerful planning. And that first one is writing down the time-specific events. And so those are always going to be first to put into your calendar, your planner, whatever you're using. The second is to block out self-care time, especially during pandemic times in 2021. Like, keeping that self-care is going to be important. Even sort of post COVID, when things get a little bit back to normal and like we're used to, I still wanted to make sure that you are blocking out that time to take care of yourself so you don't get burned out. You can recharge and then, perform and be as powerful as you can be down the road. And then the third thing is mapping the flexible time. We're going to go through all 3 powerful planning, time-specific events, block out some self-care, and then map your flexible time. So when it comes to the time-specific events, these are the things that cannot be moved. And that's why we put them into our calendars and planners first, because we have to build the rest of our schedule around these time-specific items, because you have to go to them. They cannot be moved, they cannot be changed. So these are going to be things like your exams, your papers. It's going to be, family or friend events, somebody's, birthday. You're not going to ask your family to, move the birthday party necessarily. And then work, right? You got to go to work. You got to go to work when you're scheduled, when you're scheduled. These also could be things like campus events. So kind of first, when you get those important exams, papers, family kind of stuff, work-related stuff in there, then go ahead, pull up, the campus calendar or the local community calendar, concert calendar, once those come back around. And you can start filling those in for, where they fit kind of among your most important time specifics. And then you also need to make sure you get your class schedule in there as well. And so if your, class is synchronous, meaning, you have a specific time to log in, right? That's going to be super important to make sure you get in there. If your class is asynchronous, so you're online, there's not a time you have to log in or be anywhere, build in a time specific sort of slot for that class. So that way you stay in that routine of like, okay, Monday, Wednesday, Friday from 1 to 2, like this is when I'm going to watch, the lectures, and this is when I'm going to be in class. So go ahead and build those in as a time specific event that you are going to build the rest of your schedule around. Okay, so time specific events, things that cannot be moved, things you need to plan the rest of your day, rest of your week, rest of your month around on your calendar. Now the self-care, step 2, because if we can't take some time to make sure our own, emotions, mental and physical well-being are prioritized, managed, taken care of, it makes it really hard to, actually attend those time-specific events and have that flex time and create and feel powerful and in control of your schedule. So do not deprioritize your self-care when possible. And so my kind of top tip when it comes to your self-care time, identify what we call your C time. And so on the Student Success Resource Center website, we actually have a worksheet that's going to help you find your ABC scheduling time. Now, every day, like all of us, we experience these peaks and sort of low points when it comes to motivation, our creativity, and just like how we're able to focus throughout the day. And so identifying, right, the high points, which is what we call A time, right? That is go time. That is where you're like, I am just on. This is when I'm the most focused. This is when I am able to produce the highest quality work. This is, yes, I'm amped up. We want to protect that time for the really important, challenging tasks, right? So A time is great for when you're really, studying for that exam. You want to put that in your A time. A time is great for when you're writing that paper because you're like, I'm in the zone, I'm going. Then we have B time, which is sort of, you're fine. It's kind of like your baseline. You're feeling pretty neutral. That's great for lots of prep tests. We can still read, study, like B time is very flexible. And then C time. And C time is just when, when you're like, nah, I just can't. And every day might be a little bit different, but if you start paying attention, and the worksheet that I mentioned helps you actually track your A, B, and C cycles over the course of a week, so you can kind of see what the trend lines are. And once you identify sort of the times in the day where you tend to be like, ooh, like it's just everything's more of a struggle, those are the times when it could be helpful to put your self-care in. Because you know what? You're not producing high quality work anyway. You're not very motivated anyway. You're, not very creative. You're not able to, produce and do stuff and retain information anyway. Perfect to recharge. That way your baseline is a little bit better. And then most importantly, your A time, your peak motivation and ability, is protected. And so identifying that C time, which, should be maybe 2 to 4 hours in a day. We do have to be accountable. C time can't take up, 8 hours because we do have to get stuff done and plan some time. But if you really, can identify those 2 hours every day where you're like, ugh, I just can't, that could be a really great time to block out and protect your self-care. So just as a more concrete example, For me, I'm very much a morning person. And so my A time I found is actually between about 7:30, 8 o'clock, up until about 11:30. And that's where no matter what I'm doing, I just feel better. If I'm cleaning the house, I'm like cleaning it in a better mood. I'm cleaning it faster. I'm like getting it done. If I'm reading, I'm like reading faster. I'm retaining the information. Like it makes more sense. If I'm writing or doing, a project or something, it just always turns out better if I work on it between 7:30 a.m. and 11:30 a.m. That's my A time. I do what I can to protect it for work, those big projects. And then my C time is in the evening, and since I start so early in the day, kind of hitting it hard with my peak, I do burn out by the end of the day. So starting about 4:30 until, like 6:30. So those 2 hours, 4:30 to 7, 5 to 7, I just can't. I get home, I can't even make dinner. I'm just like, ugh, don't feel like it. Can't really do anything. And so that's when I do my self-care routines. It's things, that's when I choose to take, a shower. I go to the gym. Well, gym first, then I'll take a shower, maybe watch some TV and just kind of like chill out. And then I find myself kind of bouncing back a little bit into what I consider a B time again. And so my day is very much sort of I get up and then I like peak between sort of that noon to 4, just kind of baseline, like I'm chilling, I'm vibing, I'm not particularly great, I'm just kind of there. And then after 4:30 to kind of the early evening, I just crash. And then I kind of pick back up, make dinner, hang out some more, maybe do a little bit more, work or reading or whatever, and then I go to bed. So kind of identify what generally your day looks like. And if you can find, some of you might say, oh, in the mornings, like I wake up and it just takes me a long time to get going. Maybe that's when your self-care happens. Your breakfast, you're lounging, you're showering, you're getting ready for the day in the morning. So that way, the rest of your day and maybe your A time is actually in the evening. And that's where you're like, I'm ready. Maybe it's in the middle of the day. Maybe you start really strong, have a real lull around, lunch. Maybe that's when you get a little bit of movement in, watch a couple episodes of shows, maybe a couple episodes of 20 minutes. And then, you pick back up again. So just kind of think about what your time is going to be and then build your routine around that self-care, identify what that time is. And kind of last is really about planning your flex time. And so when it comes to the flex time, it's really just filling in the gaps, right? So remember, we've already blocked out the time-specific events that we have to work around. We've identified our C time and blocked out our self-care where we're like not doing very well anyway. So the rest of the time on your calendar in the day, in the week, is going to be your flex time where you get to, fill in with the other things you need to do. And so filling in your gaps, you're going to want to do things like block out your study schedule, right? And so this is saying, okay, I have an exam coming up in 2 weeks. So every single day from 10 a.m. to 11 a.m., I'm going to really start building my flashcards, creating my study guide, reviewing the main concepts. I'm going to do that every single day. So that way, when the exam comes, you've been studying the whole time, and maybe the 2 or 3 days before the exam, you block out a 2-hour window where you really, hit the studying and the reviewing. And so we also have a worksheet on the website that helps you build a very specific study schedule, walks you through some questions to help you identify the when, the where, and the how for your studying. So flex time is great for your study schedules. Flex time is also great, for your reading time. So again, every day, right, you have however many classes, maybe it's 2, maybe it's 6, whatever classes you have, it's important to reserve some of that time every day so you stay caught up with things like the readings and the lectures. So block out some of that extra time to get your readings and your homework done, and so you can make some progress, every single day. So really use your flex time. Now you already have your time specific taken care of, you have your self-care time taken care of. All the rest of the time, use it to make some progress in your classes every day to help you stay ahead, plan ahead, and feel ready and prepared for all the assignments that are coming up. We call it flex time because some weeks or days you might need a lot more of it. Maybe the chapter is extra long, right, this week. And so usually you block out 45 minutes, maybe you need to block out an hour and a half to get through it. It's flexible. Maybe you do have an exam, this week. Like I mentioned, instead of only spending an hour reviewing the concepts from that class, you need to spend 2 hours or even 4 hours, but not all at once. Maybe you block out some time in the morning and then the evening to really review. Flex time is flexible for your schedule, for the changing things that happen in your day. Flex time could also be great for, if you need to go to the dentist or some of those kind of things. So you can drop that into a flex time because time specific, self-care, or taking care. So as just a quick review, in powerful planning, you got to get your time specific events on your calendar first, because these are things that cannot be moved. You need to go to it, you need to do it, and it cannot be moved. That is the time that it's happening. Then you're going to block out and reserve and really protect that time for yourself, your needs. That's your self-care. So that way you get recharged, and every day you can get up, get a little bit more, feel powerful. Make sure you protect time for yourself. Self-care is, you do you. Don't feel guilty because you've already planned, right, how you're going to use the rest of your time. Self-care is for you. And then last, there's your flex time. You fill in those gaps in your schedule so that way you're always making progress in your classes. Every day, make at least a little bit of progress. You can determine what that progress is, but just schedule some time every day to make sure you get a little bit of progress in there. All right, so the last big topic we're going to talk about today is the goal setting. And so when it comes to goal setting and why it's included in kind of this power up planning session, is because goals happen when we plan for them, right? We have kind of our dreams and aspirations, those kind of big picture, like it would be great if I did this. But your dream, doesn't become a goal until you really have a plan to make it happen. And so goal setting can be, on a really big scale, thinking 5 years down the road, what's your goal? What are kind of the steps you need to do in the next 5 years to make that happen? It could be really small, your goal for the day, right? By the end of the day, my goal is to do this, plan out the steps to make it happen. No matter how big or kind of small scale your goal is, these 3 steps stay the same. So the first thing is to direct the writer. And that really just means defining your goal, telling yourself, like, what is it exactly that you're trying to do? And so we call it direct the writer. This language comes from Switch, a book from Chip and Dan Heath. They're brothers. It's an excellent read, and it really just explains, all these with great examples. Definitely worth checking it out. But the big picture, direct the writer, right? We need to know where we're going. I grew up riding horses at a ranch, and the main thing with horses is always look, with your eyes, right? Obviously, we have the reins to steer them. You use your legs and kind of your body movement, but the biggest thing that makes a difference in guiding horses where they're going to go is make sure you're looking at the place, right? If I was barrel racing, I got to look at the pocket, and then boom, Susie Q would go to the pocket. If you're looking over here, horse is going to wander over there. So we want to direct the rider. Same with ourselves, our goals, our mindset. Keep your eye on the prize, but you won't know where your eye should be set until you really define it. So use some really concrete language. Next, we got to motivate the elephant or horse or whatever animal your rider is riding. Chip and Dan Heath, we talk about elephants because it's really about kind of the emotional piece and your sort of will. And it's very challenging to get elephants, right? They're big animals. And if the momentum's behind them, they can sort of crash through anything. But if they don't want to go, it's going to be a lot harder. So we want to make sure that your elephant that you're riding is motivated towards that goal. So it's really about buying into your goal, You know, what might stop you from reaching it? Why do you want it? And then last, we got to clear the path. Make it as easy as possible for that elephant to get through. Make it as easy as possible for your rider to stay focused on the goal that you defined. So it's really about setting up your goal and getting the tools that might help you. And so with Power Up planning and the ways we're really thinking about that, right? We talked about our tools. It's, you know, the tool that helps you, you know, consistently feel powerful is going to be the right tool. We talked about time blocks, which is important for you to identify and protect the time you need to feel powerful. And then we talked a little bit about goals and kind of defining your goals in some more concrete words so that you feel powerful, with a big idea about, you know, change, tweak the system if you need it, and keep tweaking it until you feel really powerful. And so all of these are going to come together, right? So with tools, right, we have our planners, we have our apps, we have calendars. Find the thing that is really going to work for you. Make sure that you use that planning tool to actually block out the time that you need. So think about, okay, if the deadline for this project is in 3 weeks, how much time do you need to do the research and get the draft done and visit the writing center, you know, and turn it in maybe with a whole day to spare, that kind of work. With your goals, right, getting concrete. So if your original goal is something like, I want to pass this class. Okay, yeah, that's great. I want you to pass this class too. But how can we get a bit more concrete in that goal, right? So instead of just pass, do you need to actually earn a 75% or more? Do you need a C in the class for your major? So look up that. That's one way to get more specific, is say, I really want to earn 75%. You could also get more concrete in saying, I am going to attend 90% of the lectures for this class. So, you know, sometimes you're going to be sick. 100% is, you know, not always a realistic goal because life happens. But you say, you know, I'm only going to miss 2 days the whole semester. I mean, my goal is to be there, you know, the rest of the time. That's certainly going to help you pass the class. Sort of students who regularly attend lectures and are there and pay attention or listen to the recordings, you know, tend to do better in class. So that could be one, or maybe it's your goal is, I'm going to turn in every assignment on time, right? Because just getting your assignments in goes a very long way to passing the class. You know, if you just get it in without late penalties, you know, you don't miss any assignments, chances are very, very high you are going to achieve your goal of passing the class. So get concrete in it, really decide, okay, what is my actual goal? And then how can I use these tools and block out my time accordingly to achieve that goal? And then again, change. Maybe one assignment needs different tools and a slightly different goal than another assignment. Maybe one class needs, you know, different time blocks and requires more time or less time than another class. And maybe your bullet journal works really well for a few months. You start to feel yourself kind of dropping off. And it's time to tweak your system, change the way you're setting up your bullet journal so that way it starts working for you again. This year, I actually have changed my monthly spreads because I just realized I wasn't using all the pages that much, taking more time to set up. So I just cut out the ones that I really weren't using and focused on the aspects of my bullet journal that I was using consistently. So don't be afraid to change. That's how we power up our planning. That's how we really stay powerful with our planning. And kind of last parting words of wisdom, think about, right, the way we work, the way you work. And just remember that the best planning system is the one that works for you. If you consistently meet your goals and feel less stress, your planning system is powerful. If you need to change your system, you have the power to make it work for you, right? The right planning system, the powerful planning system, is the one that you do consistently. It's the one that works for you. It's the one that makes you feel in charge of your schedule. It's the one that helps you meet the deadlines. It's the one that helps you get to the goals, the places that you want. Your system is going to be different than my system. It's going to be different than Coach Jasmine's system. That's going to be different than your friend's system. But as long as you understand how to use it consistently, and it is helping you stay on top of all of your classwork and projects and work and family and social life and your goals, it is the powerful system, and keep using it until you need to tweak it. All right, so thank you for powering up your planning with me. I hope that you join me for the next series. It's going to be all about powering up our projects specifically. So I'm going to talk a lot more about how to do things like clear the path, to make sure that, right, if your goal is to get this project in, we're going to talk a lot more about how to do that, and really go into a lot of different kind of tool strategies specifically for managing tasks and projects. Now that you know how to plan broadly your week and your time, your projects, now we're going to go into how to actually manage your individual tasks and projects. And then the last in the series is about powering up your mind, which is really focused on motivating yourself. So we're going to talk a lot more about the elephant piece, and how to keep yourself kind of going along the path. So I thank you again. This series is hosted by the Student Success Resource Center and the College of Humanities and Social Sciences at the University of Northern Colorado. You got this, Bears. Power up that semester. Get your planning in. Get your time-specific events. Get your self-care. Use your flex time. And join me to power up your projects and your mind. See ya.